Hey guys, welcome back to Words from Reagan. Today's episode is one very important to me because I think so many people need to hear and understand what being bold really looks like and what it means. I've always heard the term going around I've known the concept of what bold is, but I never really deep dive into what bold really means and honestly how I and people like me live being bold on a daily basis without actually knowing what it means. Now that I have more background on it, I realize we see and do this so often and we don't even realize it. So today I'm going to be talking about what being bold really means, why we should do it, and take all the labels and names we've been called in our life to be the best version of ourselves. Real fast before we get into anything, I want to see if you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you guys could share, take 5 seconds to the share button or give it a 5-star review. Helps me out a bunch to get my podcast out and continue to do what I love. With that, here's a quick little story. So Case Kenny is a podcaster, journalist, quote, whatever, if you guys know him, you know he is one of my biggest inspirations for how I live my life and also this podcast as well. He kind of grounded me into my self-love journey with all of his ideas. Although all of my ideas for my podcast are original, today's episode is kind of inspired by the message of being bold based off him and what he advocates for. So Case released a bold book over the summer, and most recently in the past week, he released a bold journal. I'm currently working on the 60-day bold journal, and over the summer, I read the bold book, which helped me out a whole bunch to get more background on what being bold means. And I thought about doing what bold really means, an episode on that for a while. I just never was really sold on the idea. But funny story, last week I was sitting in my room journaling to one of Case's newest podcasts, and my windows were open and I see this blue jay fly by. Mind you, I'm journaling to Case's new episode about being bold, and that day he came out with the bold journal that I had already ordered. I'm I keep seeing blue jays everywhere, what does this mean? So I look up and literally the first thing it said was, if you keep seeing blue jays, it's a sign you should be a bolder and better version of yourself. And I'm as I'm literally listening to a bold podcast, I thought that was weird, and that's kind of what inspired today is because I don't know if it's God or the universe. I'm okay, this week's episode is about being bold. We all have the power to be bold. It's a trait. It has the power for you to find your worth. It has the power to end this cycle of negative experiences in your life. It will open new doors and close ones that need to be closed. Bold. The ability to be bold, not the annoying selfishness bold, but the bold where you're calm, cool, collected, knowing your imperfections and embracing them. You live your life for you, in your eyes, not through the eyes of others and living for others. You're not doing things everyone else is doing. In fact, you're doing the opposite and you're not scared of it. Being bold is choosing you. Being bold is walking away from someone who doesn't reciprocate what you give them. It's leaving that job that doesn't serve you any longer. Being bold is being you. We know we will not allow ourselves to lessen our needs or standards. We choose to be bold. I always say to be the realistic version of yourself in any case. Why? Because why would you want to fake being someone you're not just to be accepted? The right people will choose you for you, no exceptions. Think of a time in your life where you've been labeled something. You're crazy because you were trying to communicate with your partner to make things work. You're too much because you're too loud and outgoing. You're weird because you still like Disney. You're picky because you won't settle and know what you have to offer. A time you've been labeled for something for simply just being you. When we're labeled by others, we tend to overthink, okay, well, maybe I really am picky. I still haven't found anyone. Or maybe I really am annoying because I'm loud. The reason we are being thrown labels left and right is because we are being the most realistic version of ourselves. we're being authentic. Being bold is to let go of any labels given to you. The boldest thing we can do in our lives is to see ourselves with our own eyes, to know us. My podcast is based on always being you, walking away from people who don't bring out the best in you, and knowing your worth constantly. Being bold is to be your own label of too much. It is to be loud and standing your ground on your uniqueness. We need to embrace what makes us different and use that to grow our confidence and boldness. You might ask yourself, well, why would I want to do this? We say, well, it might lead us into rejection, closed doors, being told no, and wanting to be told yes. Why would we want to do this? I am 100% sure we've all let ourselves go at one point of our lives. Think of a time you've stayed in a relationship longer than you should have. You chased after a person knowing they didn't care about you. Maybe you settled for someone, or a time when you wanted to take a step forward, but ultimately just took a step back. You let others' opinions become your own. A time when you just simply weren't bold. Those experiences, those chapters, past pain, they're all in the rearview mirror. But today, you are capable of forgiving yourself. When you didn't know how to love yourself, when you held on to someone who was no good for you, when you were pressured into something because of the people you hung out with, when you blame yourself instead of forgiving, you are no longer this person. Forgiving yourself is bold. You're bold to love first, say your view, and to ask for clarity. So why should we be bold? Because of who you were in your past. Those past experiences that made you question your worth and who you were as a person, you know what it's like to not be bold. You know what it's like to let yourself go and to live in that gray area of life from way more than you should have. You know what it's like to give yourself away, let what others say of you come true, to throw the blame on yourself, to tiptoe around to be everyone's cup of tea, and in general, just to lessen yourself for others. That is your reason, the source of boldness. We aren't fake. The time you spent not being you has led and guided you to your real self. It made you realize who you don't want to be. Why would you want to lessen yourself ever again? You know the value of your words and presence. You live in the gray area long enough, and now you're letting go and letting your realness shine through. Why? Because of your boldness. Speak your mind, let your light shine, be the most authentic version of you. You're pleasing yourself, not others. Being bold doesn't mean you're obnoxious. It doesn't mean you're all over the place and walking all over people. It means you embrace the beautiful mess of life, the imperfections, insecurities, and fears. You stand up for yourself, you love your body and don't shame it. You introduce yourself first. You're not scared to state what you need. Your past does not dictate the future. Now apply this boldness to your daily life. How can you be bold at work, in your relationships or friendships, and daily routine? I challenge you to incorporate it this week and build it to become a reaction, a natural thing that you just do. Maybe you start saying yes instead of no. You embrace your insecurities. You introduce yourself first. This will continue to help you build your confidence and embrace your uniqueness and insecurities. You'll realize you're different from everyone else just as they are to you, in a good way. I call this the beautiful mess of life. In life, no one is perfect. No one has the perfect body. No one has the perfect relationship, the perfect family. We might see this on social media, them portraying their quote unquote perfect life. But behind that is somebody who has been through heartbreak, rejection, failure, maybe anxiety, or even depression. And who knows if their relationship is actually healthy or if they truly love themselves. Now, I'm not telling you to go onto social media, scroll through, and judge every person that you see and guess what they're going through in life. Because in life, we don't know what people are going through. They just put up a front. And I'm sure you can relate to this. I'm sure you've done this. I've done it multiple times. But just know that not everything you see on social media is real. It's the perfect aspect of life to make you and others think that people have it easy. Now, stepping into reality, you have the choice to stick in that gray area of life, hurting and not going anywhere, or you have the choice to forgive yourself, move on, trust yourself, and embrace your flaws and past. You're a new person every second. That's the beautiful mess of life. Again, life isn't perfect. We have walked on glass, maybe let down people, betrayed people, and maybe they've done the same to us. Life is a mess, but it is what you make of it. To take your boldness and to embrace your past, the labels you've been given, and fears or struggles, you continue on with life and be an example to others that it is okay to be your full self. This helps influence others to normalize that life really is a beautiful, messy journey that we are all on. And by embracing your boldness, you impact and show others that it's okay. And from there, it just becomes a chain reaction. And honestly, that's what society needs more of to normalize this. Remember, your past doesn't define who you are right now. Forgive yourself. Let the labels you've been given go in one ear and right out the other. Live for yourself, not others. Take your flaws, your insecurities, and struggles, walk with them in your daily life, and embrace who you are. Why should we be bold? Because again, you know what it is like to not be bold, and why would you want to lose yourself again? This will close some doors that maybe you didn't want to see leave, but it's for the best. Because when one door closes, another one opens. You will find your truest self and truest people when you are bold and 100% you. No circumstances attached. Remember the challenge I threw at you guys to try and take this week to incorporate being bold and experiment for you and to see what that's like in your daily lives, in your relationship, your job. So take this week to actually kind of deep dive and maybe journal and see what being bold is like for you and try and challenge yourself to incorporate that into your lives this week. And then from there, make it your initial reaction and it'll eventually just become part of who you are. So thank you guys so much for listening. I promise video podcasts will be here. I'm hoping the beginning of next year. I just have so much on my plate. Vlogmas is coming up, school, work. But again, I'm really hoping that video podcast will be up early-ish January, maybe mid-January, but we'll see. With that, I will see you guys here next Thursday for another one. Bye, guys. Have a great week.